Picture this. You're finally ready to start your house hunt process. And what does that look like? You go to open houses and home tours, right? You reach out to a realtor and find out you don't actually know your home shopping budget. Guess what? You're going to shut down right away. They're going to tell you you need to go back to square zero because, honey, you're moving too fast. So I'm here to tell you those steps to save you that embarrassment. Okay? So, surprise, surprise, this process does not start with looking at homes. You actually have to retroactively and introspectively look at your own situation. Know your finances, know your non negotiables, know your nice to haves, and things like that. And I want to help you so that your first session, your first meeting with your new realtor is as productive and successful as possible. But some housekeeping things. Before we go through this video, I want you to go back and watch the first two. The first one talking about the sneaky habits that are actually self-sabotaging your home journey. And then the second video where I talk about things that you should be doing to change your mindset to make sure that this rest of the process is as effective as possible. Trust me, you'll want to see those videos so that you are best prepared for what I have to share in this one. So in 2017, I was just curious to see what it was like to embark on the home journey process. And I went to Zillow. I looked at a couple of homes and there was one that I was really interested in touring. And no, it was not for rent. I was shooting way above my capacity at that point, not realizing all the steps that went into it. I contacted the realtor who was the listing agent or the sales agent for the home and asked for a tour. She immediately started to ask qualifying questions like, have you talked with the lender? Do you have a realtor representing you? What is your budget? Do you have a pre-qual letter? She didn't even say pre-qualification. She went straight to the jargon, the industry jargon, assuming that I had already spoken with experts who got me caught up to speed. I was immediately shut down and we could not see that home. Why is that? Because there are steps that you have to take to show that you're willing, ready, and qualified to buy a home before you can even be let into someone's personal space, their private space, with a very vulnerable action of letting a stranger into their home to see the space. They want to make sure that you're serious about this process. So you don't have to learn this lesson the hard way. Let's go through my list of things that you should be doing to have a good plan in place before you even meet with your realtor so that you can start seeing homes as soon as possible. So the first thing you want to know are your key numbers in your personal finances. I'm not asking you to create a whole spreadsheet and have an analysis to show the loan officer, but you should have in mind your budget. So that's going to be your income versus your expenses, how much you're currently paying in rent, and how much you're willing to pay in mortgage. What you have in your savings account already, because obviously the loan officer is going to ask how much you are able to put down for a down payment by closing. And then what do you estimate your savings will be over about the next 3 to 6 months? While you're on this process for looking for a home, you want to be padding your savings with more money because the expenses will add up. You'll be surprised at all of the expenses that are just added onto the pile that you feel like you got no warning about. By the way, I have a resource that can help you track all of those things so that you are not overwhelmed, and I have it in the notes below. But once you have an idea of what all of these expenses are, you'll feel a little bit more confident knowing that you already have a plan to continue to beef up your savings while you're looking for your home. And you have savings that you start off with. You also want to know what your budget is for getting this home, essentially what you want your mortgage to be. So comparing your rent to a potential mortgage that will most likely go up. So know what the cap of that budget is so that you have a better idea of the homes that are available to you at the top end of your range. And last but not least, certainly not least, knowing your credit score. Not only do you just want to know what your credit score is with all your bureaus, but you actually want to know what all the line items say on your credit report. If you have anything that's incorrect, it's probably negatively affecting your credit score. So make sure that you have enough lead time to reach out to the credit bureaus to have those replaced or removed. There are so many credit consultants out there, so I won't go into too much detail about that, but there are resources and experts you can go to just make sure that you can do that process the right way. I would recommend starting out with cfpb.org or .gov, I believe. I believe it's the Credit Financial Protection Bureau, and they give you like the straightforward legal tasks to do to really clean up your credit if that's something you're worried about. I also recommend, at least for the time that you are expecting to purchase your home, to get a paid membership with myfico.com. I believe that one is .com, not .org, so that you can actually get your credit score that mortgage lenders are pulling. They do not see the same credit score you might see on Experian or Equifax or even your bank if they pull in your credit score on a daily, monthly, quarterly basis. You want to see what your real credit score is that your interest rate will be based off of. And that typically comes with a paid service. I just suggest my FICO instead of going through someone like Experian, who's just one snapshot of all three of your bureaus, where my FICO can show you your up-to-date score on all three. Knowing these numbers starts you off on a strong step, a strong foundation with the realtor before you get into a meeting with the mortgage lender who can give you more details about the types of homes you should be looking at. I don't know if we should blame HGTV or not, but I just feel like so many people go into this whole process with very lofty goals. And that's why it ends up being so hard to get to the finish line. And it feels like such a roller coaster because expectations are changed so frequently throughout this process. And many times they're lowered time after time after time because people do not have a realistic idea of what they can afford and what they actually want. There is such a disparity between the two. They get discouraged, but then they end up settling on something when they get to a certain part of the process where they feel like they have nowhere to turn and they're at a point of no return. I don't want you to feel that way. So that's why I encourage you to know all of these numbers in your finances before getting started. And once you have all those numbers, you're going to go to a mortgage lender to put in an application. Most of them do not charge you just to get an application. They get a snapshot of your finances so that you can talk further about more detailed numbers, such as the homes of prices that you can afford, what your potential interest rate would be, and what your potential down payment would be, so that you have a better idea of what those bigger numbers are that you'll be pulling from your savings. I encourage you to do the application right away. Honestly, you can reach out to a mortgage lender before you even start with a realtor. It shows you're serious. It gives you a clear snapshot of what your monthly mortgage payments might be. And if it's something that's over your head, you can stop the process then and there. I'd rather you do that and then get follow-up tasks from them on how to improve your financial standing for this process rather than going too far down the wrong route and getting disappointed. Okay? Now, while we're waiting, we are actively waiting. Okay? We are making the best use of this time because guess what? You're getting in that home in 2026, right? So you need to do all the things that will be important down the line. And if you're waiting, you might as well get started now. Like I said, start saving. Find ways that you can probably cut things out of your budget, make more money, or just find ways to move your savings from one area to another, or find other opportunities that you may have, such as getting gifts from family members and friends, or even accessing some retirement or investment accounts that can be a little bit more liquid for this particular purchase. I also challenge you, and I feel like a lot of people don't get this kind of advice, to start purging your home now. It costs so much just to move too. Now, I know I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so it costs us 30 minutes to an hour to drive anywhere. But when it comes to moving and they're charging you by the hour, best believe that bill is going to be high. And I think in our last move that we paid for when we weren't using a relocation service, it was about $1,200 and we were in the same area. Now, we did have to go about 20 miles away, but that time adds up. So I want to save you that pain and get some help from a professional organizer or find a way to just start purging your home on your own of things you know you don't need. If you haven't used it in the last 2 to 3 years, you probably are fine without it. So I want you to purge those things so you can make your move so much easier and hopefully more cost effective. Now, I know this is not sexy. This is not a very appealing plan, but this is what's going to literally save you hundreds of dollars in your mortgage payment every month because you're stacking up more savings to pay down points, or another way to make your interest rate better by improving your credit score and having more money to put down for your down payment. All of these things really add up. So I'm helping you save that money. That will not be a one-time savings, but over time. This time where you're looking at homes or before you even start looking at homes is very crucial because it can set you up for success in the long run. However, one of the fun things which we could actually go back to HGTV for is to prepare your expectations, especially with your partner, if you have different ideas of things you want in your home. You might not even realize until you start talking about it. But I want you to create a list of priorities that are non-negotiables, nice to have, and then I don't care. In those 3 categories, what are things you're looking for? Your living room, your bedroom, your number of rooms, the space of the home, the type of kitchen appliances you want. If you want a second floor, things like that. You can get some ideas from our friends over at HGTV and on blogs websites, and especially on social media. Make sure that you're talking through those things with your partner. So when you're looking at homes, you already know if something's on your non negotiable list, you can go. But you don't want to waste time somewhere where there's a lot of maybes, and you can kind of use that list to weed things out. I also want you to spend a couple of weekends looking at neighborhoods. I want you to actually drive them, see how close the nearest retail is, like grocery stores and pharmacies, and then even schools for your kiddos. Make sure that you like the neighborhood and you're researching all of those particulars about the homes that you know are within your price range, that you know are within your monthly mortgage goals, so that you are making the best decision, not for the home, but also for the neighborhood, that it matches your family and your lifestyle. That's kind of a fun thing that we're going to add to our list while you're in this waiting phase. And I hope you enjoy it like I do. It really helps in the end because it saves yourself some heartache when, let's say, there's a big storm in your area and you're unable to get to a grocery store because you realize you got a home that was too far and it was going to be a crazy drive. Things like that really help impact your decision. Another one that I forgot to mention that I really like to look at is gas prices. You'll see in like certain neighborhoods, regularly gas prices are lower or higher than other areas. And it just has to do with the targeting of that area. They feel like they can get away with higher gas prices, they'll do that. Also mention local stores. And then you also want to look at how close maybe doctors or ERs are, like some of those things that you don't think about often, but it'll be super convenient if they're close by. And if they're not close by and that's fine with you, then that's your priority and that's what you'll be looking for in your neighborhoods. Now, I have a crazy story, of course. When I was shopping for my first home in 2020 with my husband, we came across the perfect home. We loved the backyard, we loved the kitchen. It was updated, but not too updated. So it wasn't out of our price range, and we almost put in an offer. But we took one last visit to the neighborhood and we drove around and we saw that the nearest store was a Dollar General. As you can imagine, that is not the best quality store in terms of food provided, quality of items. And if that's the closest thing, that's not a good sign. We also noticed that the home was really close to a waste treatment center. So we were sharing groundwater, air pollution, and the like with a waste treatment center for all of Dallas. I did not want my kids growing up in an area where they would be literally blocks away from a waste treatment center. So we quickly contacted our realtor, told her that we saw that and did not want to put in an offer. Thankfully, we didn't waste the time of the owners, and thankfully, they found someone else to buy the home. But when it came to our priorities, we knew that that was something we did not want to have to deal with for years to come. So, prioritizing the time to take a look at neighborhoods and also determine what those non negotiables are for you is super important. And like I said, hopefully a little fun at this stage. Now, I know I listed so many things that you could and should be doing at this phase, and don't worry, I actually have the ultimate homeowners planner that is linked below, where you can download that real quick as a Google Sheet template, track all of these things, and some things that I suggest that you work on or have documents ready or prepare before your home search are listed there in case you missed those or in case you didn't know about it at all. It just kind of helps you stay organized throughout this whole process. So check that out. Again, the link is below. So once you start to implement this more comprehensive and movement planning within your house hunt, you'll be amazed at the progress that you make. Sometimes progress is slow, sometimes it's very quick, but when you start to take some of these steps in the early phases, you'll notice that you're quickly getting what you're looking for. You're having great productive conversations with your realtor. You're able to jump on offers and things like that without all the drama because you feel prepared, you feel empowered. You're so ready for this process. You have the identity of a homeowner, and I'm so proud of you. So make sure that you're doing these things to implement into your house hunting plan so you're actually making forward progress. You have the right mindset, you now have the plan, and now your realtor will guide you nice and easy, lemon squeezy through the rest of the process so that you can be your homeowner self before this year is up. And guess what? I believe in you. I know you can do it. So in this next video, it's an important one. You don't want to miss it. We're going to actually talk about some mistakes that I see people make in this process. And I try to help you avoid many of them in the videos that we've had so far. But let's recognize what some of those mistakes are once you finally have some forward movement, some progress. But there are still some small things that you want to look out for, that you don't fall into these traps so that you can still get to the end goal without the drama, without the emotional distress, but as an empowered future homeowner that I know you are.